Mr. Chair, I'd move that we exit the executive session.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, looks like Nathan is our next group. Let's see how many people we have out here. Nathan,
Yes.
Come on
you're
up.
up.
Good morning.
You get the hot seat now.
Okay. Let me just provide a copy of these. Brian, good morning. Good morning. How you doing? Good. Would you mind passing those?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll give you this when we're done.
And before we get going here, I just want to clarify that this is not a public hearing, that all comments are going to come from you,
Yeah.
and then we'll have a discussion with
Okay.
the board.
And before he gets started, is there a point, and this is for Brian, is there a point where we may need to turn off this conversation? Should it come back to us through a judicial process, through planning and zoning, and then come to us, or are we free to talk about everything and anything today?
Right, and so it'll depend how the conversation goes. I think Nate just wants to present the neighbor side, is that correct?
Yeah, I think
But-
just helping the county understand the position of the constituents of the county that live in the area,
Okay.
and maybe how we see that this process hopefully can go.
Yeah, and, I mean, there's been no, I guess, formal complaint with the county that's been filed, and that started a process or a hearing. I mean, that's always a concern, what are you gonna hear, especially if you put on
Right.
what they call your quasi-judicial role.
Correct.
Usually you hear stuff on the outside if there is something pending, and I would say there's not something currently pending right now. I don't know if anything, maybe if you've reached out to anyone in the county to file.
No, and I think that's part of the discussion today is we see this as the county's kind of purview and obligation to take action because these are zoning ordinances that we're dealing with, and we have no enforcement of those zoning ordinances. That would come through the county, the enforcement of that.
So definitely if there was something pending and going through hearings, that'd be,
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that
yeah.
we didn't have a line we shouldn't cross today, so thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioners. We appreciate your time this morning.
Please introduce yourself.
Yes, Nathan Cuyo, attorney, worked for the law firm of Merrill & Merrill here in Pocatello. I'm representing many homeowners that live in the Income area near this mine. They refer to it as the Stanger Mine. And some of those constituents are here with me today: Brad Hall, John Thurnagel, Marcy Bartu, just a few of them by name, but there are many others. And I've provided in your packet, and we'll kind of get to that, some affidavits, and there's quite a few of those from some of the constituents or homeowners in the area. Most of them are notarized sworn statements. And so let me just kind of give a little historical background context to what I want to talk about today. So in 2023, Jeremy Stanger, by and through his attorney Todd Lakey, who's an attorney in the Meridian area over in Boise, they made an application to the county for a conditional use permit to establish a mining operation. Okay? And so that application was denied for various reasons. And in the packet that I provided to you, there's some documents, and specifically the minutes from that conditional use application meeting. You may have had an opportunity to review those previously or be familiar with those, but I just want to highlight a couple points from that and the reasons why that was denied at that time. And I've kind of turned to the specific pages, page 18 of 21. There's 5 different criteria labeled as criteria A, B, C, D, and E. And in criteria A, it says, due to the testimony and proposed use, We believe this will increase traffic, decrease property value, and create health safety risks in the area. So health was kind of an overarching concern. B, the proposed use would cause undue disruption of travel or an extraordinary increase in the volume of traffic in the vicinity of the proposed use. Criteria C, the proposed use would damage the public health, safety, or general welfare within its vicinity or be materially injurious to the property or improvements in the vicinity. The council felt that the size and scale of impacts at busy usage of the proposed source would damage public health, safety, and general welfare within its vicinity. Criteria D, we believe the increased traffic, health concerns, potential decrease of property values far outweigh the positives. Criteria E, and this is where they kind of, the council made some recommendations to the applicant at that time. And they recommended to perform the following actions to gain possible approval in the future. That was a road traffic impact study, work with the community to understand and mitigate concerns of those that live nearby, and then submit a mining plan, dust mitigation plan, and roadway improvements. So those were kind of the overarching reasons why that board denied the conditional use application at that time. And so now, apparently in May of this year, Mr. Lakey sent a letter to addressed to your legal counsel, Brian Trammell, as well as Hal Jensen, the Director of Planning and Development. We didn't receive a letter of that until maybe 6 weeks or so after that it was received. And I can't remember the specifics of how we even learned of it. I think there was some activity happening there. And so we reached out to the county, and Mr. Trammell indicated that they had received a letter, and so we requested a copy of that. At this time, I'm not sure if we've received everything that Mr. Lakey has sent to the county. We've made a request for that. And so if there isn't any additional information that's been sent, we would expect to receive that so that we can review it and respond to it accordingly. And so in that the Stangers argue that they have a right to a non-conforming use. And you're probably familiar with the statute here in Bannock County. It's something that was passed in 1998, and I've got a copy of that relevant statute there. I'd just like to point out a couple things. So the first paragraph is really kind of overarching as far as what are we focused on when we determine whether a non-conforming use is appropriate. And it says the purpose of these requirements is to keep to a minimum the negative impacts of non-conforming uses on surrounding permitted uses, and to eliminate those non-conforming uses which are most detrimental to the health, safety, and welfare of persons living in residential zoning districts. I'd like to tie that back to the conditional use permit application denial. Those things that I reviewed just recently, briefly, the reasons why it was denied is really based on health, safety, and these issues that they were concerned with as a board and that the constituents were concerned with. And so when we're looking at a non-conforming use, the county still, we believe, has an obligation to eliminate non-conforming uses which are most detrimental to health, safety, and welfare, because that's what the statute says and requires. And then just kind of moving into that first paragraph, A, it says, unless otherwise set forth in this ordinance, legally established uses which were in existence prior to the adoption of this ordinance, so prior to 1998, shall be permitted to remain substantially unchanged as long as their operation is not discontinued for a period of greater than 12 months. And so as we've kind of gone around to the constituents that we represent, and you'll see as you review these affidavits that many of them under sworn statements are indicating that there really has been no material activity happening at this mine for the last 20 years, essentially. I mean, there might be a truckload here and there of a local individual wanting to fill up their truck with some gravel, but it's not a mining operation. And you'll see some of these affidavits in here where individuals approached Elmer Stanger, who's now deceased, asking if they could get a truckload or buy a truckload of gravel from him, and him indicating specifically that I'm not operating a mine. I'm going to allow you to go in there and take rock for yourself because I'm a good neighbor and I like you, but I'm not going to charge you. And in fact, I find this mine to be dangerous. So as you review these affidavits, you'll see that there's clear testimony, and this is something that, it's not just one or two people, this is a lot of people that live in that area that pass this mine daily, multiple times a week, post office workers that are providing testimony of that. I've also included some Google Earth images. And as you look through these images, you'll note and see that this has not been used as a mining operation for the last approximately 20 years. There might be an old piece of equipment or something on the property, but it's not materially being used as a mining operation. Let me just point out here, in Mr. Lakey's letter, which you're probably familiar with at this point because I assume you've had an opportunity to review that, he cites a specific case law. He cites to a case that I will refer to as the Eddins case. In that case, we believe the facts are very distinguishable from the situation here. In that case, they were wanting to update or replace existing equipment that they were using on the property in their non-conforming use. And the court found that that was not a fundamental expansion or enlargement of a non-conforming use, updating equipment and things of that nature. Another case that was cited too is Kootenai County versus Harriman. In that case, there was an RV park being operated. And so the owners of the RV park wanted to add some showers. They wanted to occupy or use a building, and they wanted to put in a subsurface sewage system without a permit. That one went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court upheld the district court that had found that, no, you can't expand it to that extent. And so talking about an RV park, wanting to add some showers, use a building, things of that nature, not significantly intrusive, but in this situation with the Stangers, we're talking about the difference between loading up a couple pickup fulls of rock annually by neighbors locally, and then moving into an operation that is full-fledged mining operation with bringing in heavy equipment, dust, crushing, noise, health concerns, traffic concerns. To me, it seems materially greater than wanting to add a few showers and occupy a building, which the Supreme Court found was unlawful. So essentially what we feel is that the county has an obligation to look much closer at this than it has at this point in time. Mr. Lakey is arguing that they have a constitutional right to this non-conforming use. I would ask the question, why did they go through the process of a conditional use permit first if they truly believe that they had a non-conforming use? That would have been the path of least resistance, just to say, hey, we have a non-conforming use here. I believe it's because he really knows that they don't, that this has not been operated continuously like they're arguing and saying, that it has been a mom and pop's thing where you can come and you can take a few rocks for your landscaping to fill in a road, things of that nature. In the Kootenai case, it was the county that brought the injunctive action against the user of the property. We don't believe that we have the right to do that. We believe that that's the obligation of the county to protect its constituents within the zoning code as it is presently constituted. It feels, I think it's really difficult for the constituents, the fact that they went through a conditional use process where it was formal, there was some due process to it. But at this point in time, because a letter has been sent by an attorney alleging that they have a constitutional right to use the property based on a non-conforming use, that they've really been given carte blanche to do what they want. There's no oversight happening. They've been able able to go in and essentially do what they wanted to do through the conditional use process, which was denied. And it's really worse now because there's no stipulations or conditions placed upon what they're doing. And so we're really coming here to ask for your help, to get involved in this and seriously look at it and shut it down until this is looked at closer. Because we believe that there's material evidence here refuting what they're saying. So I'm happy to stand for questions, answer questions. Happy to submit any additional information or documentation and legal authority if you'd like. But that's where we're at. That's how we feel.
Comments?
You present a very good argument, and I, for one, would agree that we need to take a little bit closer look and move forward with looking at this more seriously and seeing what we can do, because we had the one affidavit that says he said, and now we have your affidavit that said she said to effect. So I think it's time to move forward and go.
John?
I agree with Commissioner Huff. I would think we need to confer with our attorney.
And that's where we're at right
Yeah,
now. I mean,
yeah.
we're not going to have a discussion.
Sure, I'm not expecting a decision today. I understand that.
We'll talk with our legal team and see what direction. And we always wait for new evidence,
Sure.
and we base it on that.
Yeah, and I don't think this is something that's going to go away because we have people that living right next door, and they're getting pounded with dust daily now. This is something that they've never complained about in the last 20 years that they've lived there. And in the last week, they've had more dust from this than they've ever had in the last 20 years. It's materially different, which is why we're here today. I would also ask the question of, it seems like if you're operating a commercial mine, that you would have tax returns to support that, that you would have receipts to support that, right? And if those aren't produced, it seems like that's pretty difficult to prove. It seems like the burden of proof should be on them, not on us as the constituents. And for the county to ask the right questions to really dig in deep and get to the bottom of it. And to shut it down in the meantime.
Okay? We'll have a conversation.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
All right. Scott, you're up.
Good morning, Commissioner. Scott Crowther, Event Director, Business Manager. We'll start with you. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Yes. Good morning. I'm Stuart Rao. I work for the 1st of 148th Battalion here in Pocatello as the Assistant Fires Support Officer. I'm here to propose a plan to have a morale and re-enlistment flight for our soldiers as well as some of the employees of the Bannock County Event Center in order to boost morale for our soldiers who have been working hard for us for the last few years. And yeah, essentially
So this is the second year that they've run this event where they brought in the Black Hawk helicopters and took some people for a tour. And last year we said, hey, how come we can't get on that ship? And they said, you weren't on the flight manifest. And so when he approached us this year, I said, put us on the flight manifest.
I asked the same question last year.
So we could do
Is my name on that manifest?
Yeah, so we can do a tour, but it's a pretty simple event from our standpoint. We use the gravel parking lot that is between our office and the wellness complex. We just lock it down. They brought in 2 helicopters last year, and we were able to facilitate it pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm supportive of it. Any questions?
And how many helicopters?
so this year we're planning on having 3 instead of 2. They are in the deployment year, so we'll see if we actually get 3 or not. But that's the plan as of now, is to get 3 there this time.
And you guys have gone over all the plans for keeping everybody safe as far as landing, taking off, and you got plenty of room and all that stuff.
Yes, there's plenty of room back there, so we should be able to keep a safe distance there and land safely, take off safely and all that, so.
Right. Well, I like the idea. long as I don't have to
I've
write.
talked to several recruiters, and recruiting is tough right now. So will you
Yes.
allow potential recruits to participate in this, or is this just for existing members?
So this is for existing members,
Okay.
because a lot of the retention issue comes from retention.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of recruits in. It's, the main issue right now is keeping people in. People will do their initial, and then they'll get a little bored with it, with the monotonous drills and all that it can be. So the intent is to kind of boost that, get a little boost in there with a little morale flight in there to have people stick around more, so.
Okay, well, I've had 3 kids go through
Oh.
the reserve program, and so I'm all in support of this, so
I appreciate it, sir.
you bet. Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve the request for the National Guard.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Madison?
I feel like we should have music playing.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please introduce yourself for us?
My name is Madison Andreessen, and I'm here as Miss Idaho today.
So last year we did a little bit of work with Miss Idaho as far as utilizing the wellness aspect of the wellness complex, because that's a big part of her platform. And so she approached us this year about doing a 5K run walk for the American Heart Association. She would essentially use pavilion number 3 and then the trails and the walkways. Like many of the run walks that we do, it doesn't preclude people from using the complex. We don't really shut things down. From our standpoint, we just make sure there's safety mechanisms in place for crossing the roads or the parking lots. So, and this is a request for the fees to be waived too. I think that the only thing that has a fee associated with it is the
Pavilion.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions?
I think I read in there that she wants to spray paint arrows or something like that.
So typically, we will put some arrows on, like if people are running on the trail, we'll mark the trail. We've looked at actually doing permanent marker because people use the same trail over and over again. We've talked
So
about
that's
ways to
not
do
a
that.
problem.
So it's not an issue. So,
Will we be done with football by then?
let's see.
Let's
I
get-
think we are, yeah.
Okay.
So I believe we end up with football the end of this week.
Okay.
At the end of this month.
All right. Okay.
And it's not the same day as landing helicopters.
Okay, then. Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve the request as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Is it just this, or is there 2 signatures?
There's 2 of them there.
Oh, I missed the second one then.
Did you?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Nancy can sign. Jason there. All right. Looks like Todd.
Good morning, Todd Mauger from Bannock County Juvenile Justice in the Village.
Matt Olson, Director of Bannock County Juvenile Justice.
So in May, I came to the commission to request permission to move forward, or to discuss a option to do a lease with the IDJC for 2 offices at the Village. We moved forward with that, and about 3 weeks ago, IDJC contacted me and is requesting 3 offices rather than 2. So they asked me to put a proposal together. One of the things that we were doing was giving them more of a, I would say, kind of a deluxe office with windows and then a standard office. And looking at our situation with where we want to be in the next 5 years, I felt like we needed to save that deluxe office for in the future if we're able to obtain some funding for, either another full-time person or a full-time counselor. And so in discussing with IDJC the 3 office spaces, they felt like 3 standard offices would be sufficient. And then what I did is they asked me to get a proposal together. I wanted to come to the commission with that proposal to move forward. During that time, we kind of came up with some numbers of $1,800 a month for rent rather than the $1,250 for the 2 offices. So I put it on the calendar with the proposal I submitted to them. They got working on when we did the 2 offices, they did submit a co-location agreement that was submitted to our civil department. Brian reviewed it, suggested some changes, and so they were working on those changes. And yesterday afternoon, I received the agreement with the co-location for the 3 offices and the $1,800 a month. And so I did provide that on the agenda, and it was somewhat late. But what I wanted to do today is just discuss the lease option of the 3 offices of the $1,800, and if we can move forward. I do feel like if we were to review this and get into like signing and approving today, I feel like it doesn't give us enough time to I have submitted to Trammell and Dan Kendall. I tried to reach out to IT and I've talked to Christy, but I think if we were, I'd like permission to move forward with this, but further discussion and make sure everybody's comfortable before, so.
Well, there's a few items on here that we need to adjust. Like the date is October 1st.
Yeah,
It'll be October
I saw
1st.
that.
Yeah, and they're aware of that. They just put October 1st, and they're willing to adjust that. But I thought that the co-location agreement provided a lot more information as we discussed today. So,
And I don't see a problem with it. If we have the space. I like you're looking at the future and you're not giving them the best office space and stuff. You're looking out for your people too. So that's why I asked Christy to have you come and talk about it. Just instead of just add one more onto it. I think it's a good discussion to have.
for sure.
Well, I like it because I think it fulfills your mission. It helps fund you. So like we've talked about, and you've planned on this from the very beginning, so.
We have, and it was 2 offices. I do feel like moving to the 3 standard and the increase in the lease does put us at that point where the data system will be covered as well as the assessment. So that's really, when you look at the sustainability of the building and the programs we're running, I think that was the key component that needed covered. So it puts us in a much better spot than we were before.
Yeah, no, I like that partnership, so I fully support where we're going with this.
John, anything?
Do you have any concerns about this besides what you've already brought up?
No, we just need to work through the contract.
Okay. No, I have no concerns with it. You got the space, and you have extra space beyond this, it sounds like, right?
Well, right now, all the offices are full. We do have a part-time individual that is working the electronic monitors, and he comes in the morning. That space is also being used for interns that are doing some of the triage and crisis counseling. We also have the 2 family room spaces on the edge that can be used for counseling and a chalk room. So we're not necessarily putting ourselves in a bind. We are using the space. We have moved some of those interns. They did have their own office space, but we have moved them back into that 4-place office, and they're sharing that, which I think is sufficient for interns. And then we do have part-time employees that aren't there at certain times during the day. So if those interns need to talk with the family, they can use those offices. So I feel like it's an effective use of space from a getting things done standpoint and from a financial sustainability standpoint, for sure.
Mr. Chair, Matt, do you have any thoughts?
No, I'm just in total support of this. I think it's a great pathway to sustainability moving forward, and I think there's some benefits for having Department of Juvenile Corrections staff in that building, particularly when we look at the Safety and Assessment Center having some district components to it and trying to support other counties. We can't really use county employees to do that, but using district liaison and some other state staff, they might be able to do additional outreach to help support really the services and things that are provided out of the village.
Great, thank you.
Dan, any concerns?
No, I don't think so. Just make sure everything's good with Adam and Dorian, and I think we're good. There was a note on there about some signage. We'll just have to work with them on that. I think we can work through it.
And I'll email some of the items. I think the other thing we might need is a term, because this will require lease accounting. And so somehow we need to define if it's a year-to-year or if it's ongoing until somebody cancels. I think that might need to be defined. I just remembered that.
Okay.
So I have to think myself
We'll
out.
we'll touch base.
All right, so move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Daniel, you're up.
Good morning.
Hello.
Dan Kendall, Facilities Director.
Ashley Ford, Maintenance Office Coordinator.
We're up here for our monthly update. Got a lot going on. As far as projects go, the annex, we have the building permit. That went really well. The process went smooth. All the contractors have signed their contracts, and we have HVAC equipment showing up. And we're storing them in a storage container outside so we could feel more comfortable about paying for that equipment. Like to have it on site before we pay for it. And so it's in that storage container. Hopefully we don't have it.
That's one moved in the far side.
Yeah, that far parking lot.
Okay.
So hopefully we don't have that there very long. But we're rigging up a hoist where we can hoist that equipment up into the attic safely, and then we'll get rid of the container as soon as we can. But while we've been waiting for this to get started, we've been working on the restrooms in the annex and the painting and that kind of thing. We removed the insulation from the attic and added some lighting up there so we could see what we were doing up there. So that one's moving along very well.
Floor looks really nice over there.
Yeah.
Very positive comments back on the restrooms.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, so, yeah, excited about
The
that.
stalls, are we painting them or changing them?
Changing them out.
Okay.
Yeah, those are coming.
They're
That's the
out of,
next
they're
thing.
out of sync with the rest of it.
Yeah. They are like a 12-week wait item. I ordered them about a month before we started everything else, so we have another month to wait to get those in.
Okay.
But they go right in the same spot, so it won't cause any damage to the new floor. So I think we'll have pretty much new bathrooms, and I know it's been on their top of their list for a long, long time, so.
Good.
Yeah. On the Downey exhibit building, we've been working on engineering, and the shell, I think, is out to bid now. So this week's been all engineer meetings, and I'm drawing those up and getting those over to them, and it seems like so far it's going really well. No hiccups yet, so I'll keep working with them. As soon as we leave here, I'll get back with them and working with the plumbing and HVAC engineer today. And the 6th Street project, I think everything's going very well. They're talking about pouring curbs and sidewalks next week, so that's encouraging. Once we get those in, then we can start thinking about putting the asphalt in on the road, so.
Looks like out there today, they're building that pretty close.
Yeah, they're doing really good. I'm really happy with them. No complaints. Super good company to work with, so. Up in 320, the wood has started to show up, the molding and the wood paneling, and so that's actually moving along really well. The fire sprinkler guys are up there today, the electricians are up there today, the ceiling grate has been put in, so it's good to see that one's moving along better, quicker. The wood is always the slowest part. It's frustrating, but it is what it is, but it's looking great, and the judge is super happy with it, so. As far as maintenance goes, the lander had one of the HVAC units, the motor went out in that one of the units. We got that fixed, so just trying to hold it together till we can get rid of it, but it'll be nice when we get rid of it. I guess as you've noticed, the sprinkler system out here has been kind of destroyed during the construction. When they put the ramp in, it cut all of our water lines. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks we can get that new main line put back in, and we can kind of finish up some of the landscaping we're doing on the front lawn. But they don't want to put any plants in, obviously, because we don't have any water up there.
Yeah.
So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get that main line put back in.
Is that the line that's across the walkway?
It was actually
PVC pipe?
It was a galvanized pipe that went under the ramp.
And there's like a 3-inch or 2.5-inch PVC pipe that goes this full length underneath the ramp right now.
Oh, it's probably the new drainage system,
Oh.
yeah. Yeah, we're planning, they did a good job with the new drain system, French drains, getting that water away from the ramp. We've always had that problem with the water coming down in there. And so we'll have the existing one plus a new one. So hopefully won't have that issue anymore. We are gonna relocate the flower beds, and we've taken out those green shrubs on the front. Something I would like to talk about maybe in the future is replacing these big pine trees with maybe trees that are gonna match our new landscaping that we're doing. The pine trees are like a major maintenance issue. Every time the wind blows, the parking lot's full of pine needles, and it'd be nice to maybe put an
I'm
end to
good
that.
if we get rid of them. Causes me no heartburn.
Yeah, I would love to get
I
rid of
don't
them.
think there is a tree that isn't a trash tree.
Those ones
I
are
know I
special.
clean up in my yard every time after a windstorm.
Yeah. Yeah, those ones are rough. It's like every 3 days a week, we have a guy out there with a leaf blower trying to get pine needles off the parking lot.
Yeah.
Would love to put that to an end. We talked about the gas line, Intermountain Gas, stopped by and put the new gas line under the road, so we don't have to dig the road up next year. That was a big win for us. Our meter and our line were both due to be replaced, so. The striping machine, I've been out using that thing, and I did Road and Bridge, Ashley and I did. We did the main courthouse, we did Lander, we did planning and zoning, and the front lot at the village. We did that all pretty much within one day. That thing really goes. So
Looks good.
I feel like it already paid for itself.
Looks real good.
I know timing's gonna be funny with this project out here on 6th Street, because I want to restripe some things. We'll have to just see what the weather's like, if we can stripe and it'll dry. I'll get it put back together.
If we're able to put asphalt down, we should be able to paint.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine. It's kind of been tricky with landscaping and parking lots. We'll just see how it comes together, and it's been so warm. Hopefully it stays that way for a little bit longer. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was the power outage we had in the server room. We're gonna have to bring in additional power into that room and put a bigger panel in that room. It's just, over the years, we just keep adding equipment and never upgraded the electrical. And so we're gonna have to pull a bigger wire from the tunnel up into the server room and put a big panel in, and then we'll never have that breaker flipping issue, I guess, for a long time, hopefully. But it's maxed out, and we balanced it out and moved some things around to keep it going until we can get those upgrades done. But
Well, it's a crucial
yeah,
item.
Yeah.
We can't have a shutdown.
What do you think? What do you think your timing is on getting that done?
I would say the next week.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
we've ordered the equipment for it, and gonna have to be done over a weekend, so that we're not, they shut down that. They actually shut down things at the jail and that kind of thing. So that was our main concern, is to work with them and make sure that they can still do what they need to do over there.
And will you do that, or do you have Razor Electric or whoever come in and do that?
Yeah, Razor's scheduled to come in and take care of it. They came in and assessed and put the meters on it and found out, what was going on. And there's kind of like 2 servers rooms, and we really didn't allow for that, and it just maxed it out. They're just too
How are
tiny.
we paying for that?
What's that?
How are we paying for it?
I have money budgeted for that.
Okay.
Just a maintenance item.
Okay.
Should have been done a long time ago.
And you can have that done in a week,
A weekend, yeah.
but within the next week?
hmm
Okay.
We've been working on it since it flipped, so we've had a week to kind of get our ducks in a row, and we'll get that fixed. I don't think, we actually have a big server rack running on an extension cord, so we got to get that done right now.
When's our next fire inspection?
Sorry.
Too much
It's
information.
It's a high quality extension cord.
Yeah, you can inspect in 2 weeks.
You got that at the high end of Walmart, is that what you're
It
saying?
was it's my nice welding extension cord, so it's doing okay. It's not hot or anything like that, but it's getting us by.
Are you having Ashley test if it's hot or not?
Yes. That's my
No
main
heaters
function.
hooked up to it, right?
Unless Ashley has anything, that's all I had for you today. Unless you have any questions, too.
No, don't have anything.
Go ahead and stay here for a little bit.
Okay.
We'll have a discussion about the building down at Downey.
Okay. Thank you.
We're talking about it now,
Oh, okay.
okay?
Yeah, so don't move.
Do you want me to go?
And Hal, you can come up too, talk about this one a little bit.
No, stay here.
We keep getting hit up by Downey that they'd like to have those buildings.
Uh-huh.
We've told individuals that we wouldn't put people in them ourselves.
You're talking the two buildings, the old 4-H buildings? Okay.
So we need to decide basically what we're gonna do with them, whether we're gonna tear them down, whether you feel like they could be used for storage, whether we give them to Downey and make an exchange for the different roadways and plat, you know, we're kinda all mixed up down there, what is county ground and what is city grounds, and the right-of-ways and the roadways, so
I
what's your
think-
thoughts?
I think as a storage building, I would feel more comfortable with that. I mean, it's basically a pole barn. It's starting to lean a little bit. The things that I was hearing they're using those buildings for is what raised the concerns. People, you know, sleeping in them, or, you know, you have hundreds of people in there. But as a storage shed, I would feel more comfortable with that. And I think it's not like they're going to fall down. It's just I don't feel they're at the end of life for sure. But my point was that if you were going to offer them money to replace them, or I was thinking, why not, you know, be proactive and get them out of there and replace them. But my main thing is people shouldn't be in there overnight. People having hundreds of people in there is different than having it as a storage shed. But you know, it's a tough decision. We've always talked about it's kind of a commissioner decision. But if it was a storage shed, I'd feel a lot more comfortable using it as a storage shed.
And I have no problem with doing that. I know the Fair Board would love to be able to utilize them.
We're investing a lot of money down there, and we're upgrading the facility as a whole.
Yeah.
Why would we maintain two buildings that look the way they do in there? I would say, let's get rid of them, make the way for, if we're gonna, maybe we put another storage building down there in another year or two, because storage buildings aren't
Yeah.
super expensive, but we have a nice building going on across the street, we've got another nice barn going on in the middle, we've upgraded the fairgrounds, we've done a lot of stuff down there. Why would we continue to keep buildings that look like that down there?
They,
Let's clear them out, make space for something nice, and move that direction.
they do look terrible, and they do need some work, and it's just like, do you want to put money into them to just put a Band-Aid on them? It's just, you know, it's a tough decision for.
The only thing that I like, and we could have the conversation about that, is the one has a restroom on the end of it. I mean, we're gonna put restrooms, you know, 100 feet, 200 feet away.
Yeah.
But that's still a resource that's always convenient. You never have enough restrooms in a park. John, thoughts?
Well, my understanding is that, like you said, there's a lot of land down there that it's kind of a mishmash and confusion about who owns what and that type of thing. And so my feeling is the first thing I would suggest is go down there and try to determine these land issues. If the city really wants that particular piece of property and there's other property that would be more beneficial to us, I'd certainly consider trading them off.
Well, I'm, like I say, I have mixed feelings. I think we can deal with the land issues separately. I think the cities, because of the building we're putting in there and what we're doing, I think they're gonna be more than willing. If we let them utilize that building, kind of as a community building, I mean, it's gonna be under our direction, but that's gonna be the best building in Downey, 100%. And so I wouldn't mind getting rid of the other two buildings just to beautify the area. But, so I'll talk with Kyle and see what it would take to do that, and then come back and we'd have a further discussion. kind of, I mean, we put aside $100,000 to get rid of that and to do that, to tear them down.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
I mean, I'm thinking that 100,000 we might potentially use for this building, this nice building we're building, and that factors into my thinking on that.
And that's why I said I talked to Kyle, because the 100,000 was to go outside and have that bid. And when I talked to Kyle before, it could probably happen. So,
Yeah, that'd be ideal.
City of Downey owns the ballpark, correct?
correct.
And then we
And the
own,
playground, we own. Wait, let's see, right here. Part of this is there's a roundabout kind of right here.
Mhm.
So this building that is ours is kind of in city property. And then there's, right through here is a right of way and right through here. But these are all our barns. This is all ours. And then you come around, you come down to here.
That's
And
all
then
ours.
everything across the street there is ours.
No, I agree with John. We need to clean up the property issue and then clean up the buildings.
So I've been invited down to another city council meeting, but we'll look this over a little more, look at the maps, and then maybe invite them here so that we can make a decision as a council or as a board, instead of keep going down there and having bits and pieces with their city council. Yes.
If we could do that sooner than later, that would be awesome, so we get that money allocated.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I prefer to do that sooner than later so that we can get that 100,000 allocated, whether it be towards a building or it's one of those limbo items that stresses me out.
I'm with you.
All right. We'll move forward, get a hold of Downey and have them come this way, and I'll talk with Kyle. And next week I'll give a report. How's that? All right?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christie?
Christy Davenport, Management Assistant. I'm just here to request that Bannock County, as in years past, would be willing to pay for what's called the wellness profile for Bannock County employees. I'm not sure if we paid for their spouses in the past. We have, okay.
You're not sure what?
Whoever's on the insurance.
Okay, so spouses and employees, whoever's covered by our insurance. It is about $43 per person. And it is on that sheet that I submitted, it's all the ones that say no charge on the side. Folks will be able to take this into the hospital as well in the whole month of October to that lab if they're not able to come to the health fair to get their blood drawn there. And so that's just good for their employees to know as well whether they need to be charged there or not. So.
No, I think it's part of the health fair. We've done it in the past, and if anybody wants to utilize it, I mean, that's what we're talking about, is their health, so.
I just didn't want to assume, just because we've done it in the past, that we'd do it again, so.
Questions, concerns?
Nope. What's the date of the health fair again?
October 16th. So
Coming right up. What day of the week is that?
it's a Wednesday. It's just
Okay.
about under 2 weeks away.
And it's down at the
It's at the event center at the Museum of Clean.
Museum of Clean.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I forgot they call that an event center too.
Yeah. It's their event center. So.
All right,
Okay.
how about a motion on
Mr.
that?
Chair, I'd move that we approve, what is it? Paying for the wellness panel as discussed.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then next we have, looking for a signature of renewal of State of Idaho Health and Welfare Service Agreement with the Sheriff's Office.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve the renewal of the contract with the Department of Health and Welfare for the sheriff.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
With that being said, do you have any further comments that we need to have right now about I mean, we can go back into executive session if we need to talk, or we wasn't in executive session for that, was we? Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, I just
That was
knew we.
Gaviola.
Can we not go into executive session?
It's not posted.
Okay,
as
okay, that's what I
such.
thought. Yeah.
But I guess just in talking, do we need to set a session for,
Yeah, I mean, it'll give me time to kind of go through what they had. I've had a chance to glean at it, but not to read everything.
okay, so not next Tuesday, but the following Thursday or Tuesday? When are you back?
You won't be back.
I'll be back next week, Thursday.
So you'll be here for meetings on Thursday? So let's talk about it then. Put it on the schedule with an executive session,
Under F for the,
okay?
okay.
All right.